Has anyone on X ever had an experience with a real vampire, or creature they consider of vampiric nature? There's a lot of folklore and creepy media involving vampires but little to no personal testimonials. Occasionally there will be a news article about a supposed vampire hunt or attack somewhere, usually in places like Africa or Serbia, but rarely any single person sharing their story living in a modern country. Surely some people have met vampires or someone they suspected to be such a being and survived the encounter? Here's a few articles about vampires in mainstream newspaper. Newspaper articles are linked in the description.
Someone once told me that vampires were Atlantis natives who had nanobots that were powered by blood. Sounds like a good narrative. One of the people I grew up around claimed he was a vamp. He ate very little, slept very little, and gave off enormous body heat. I saw him feed a few times off of a couple of different women. Party bitches loved it, and it was around the time all that Twilight shit was happening. Also saw him suck a tampon dry multiple times.
Opie, I can't answer your question, but vampires are canon in the Bible too. They are definitely real. There are those who rebel against the light, who do not know its ways or stay in its paths. When daylight is gone, the murderer rises up, kills the poor and needy, and in the night steals forth like a thief. The eye of the adulterer watches for dusk. He thinks, "No eye will see me," and he keeps his face concealed. In the dark, thieves break into houses, but by day they shut themselves in. They want nothing to do with the light. For all of them, midnight is their morning. They make friends with the terrors of darkness. Job 24, New International Version. Anyone here realize how Italians are pretty much the opposite of vampires? Dark complexion, constantly eating garlic, out in the sun all day. Love to look at themselves in the mirror. Don't like blood in food, cross on neck at all times.
Isn't it weird that there are so many people in paranormal communities saying how they've seen a ghost, a demon, or even cryptids like Bigfoot, skinwalkers? Yet it's incredibly rare for someone to say they had an actual, real vampire encounter. Considering how popular vampires are in media, and that they are among the most searched paranormal beings on Google Trends, you'd expect there to be more people claiming to have seen some, yet there's almost none. Even schizos almost never have delusions that involve vampires. Why is that? Is the conclusion that vampires are more dangerous than demons or spooks, because they either silence every witness or just blend in so flawlessly that hardly anyone notices? Intelligence answers only in this thread.
All cryptids are by nature reclusive. They don't like humans, and humans sure as hell don't like them.
But most cryptids don't need to eat humans to survive.
Blood and organs is a huge market. It's why the recent abortion controversy. Rich vampires wouldn't need people. I don't need a cow, for example, to get milk. Not that I can, or would want to drink it.
Are you implying you're a vampire?
Yes, that is what I implied. The tests I have done are pretty simple and basic, as I'm not sure how to test them in a more advanced way. So far I have tested my ability to lose weight extremely quickly when desired by going on a 1,500 calorie diet for a day. The next day I will lose 1 pound, and if I fast then I will lose 2 pounds. I also don't need to eat in general. I have gone 3-day fast with no symptoms and very little fatigue, which is expected since I still do need blood and I obtain very little of it in my life. The other tests I have done are strength test. I began with almost no exercise experience and began lifting a 50-pound weight. At first I was only able to lift it 15 times and it was very difficult, but within less than a week I was able to lift it 120 times and much more efficiently. Another that I am currently working on is jogging. I began with a light jog for 10 minutes, about a quarter of a mile. I tried again a few days later, it had grown to 20 minutes. Then again, trying a few days later, it had grown to 30 minutes at a much faster pace and much less energy loss too. I will also occasionally eat raw or spoiled foods. During most of these tests I have found that efficiency is driven up when avoiding sunlight or after eating deer blood capsules, which are my only reliable source of blood. If you would like me to do more interesting tests, I would be glad to.
You're not really describing anything supernatural. Weight loss fluctuates. It's possible to lose a lot of weight in a quick time because the body drops mostly water weight. Not eating for 3 days isn't a big deal either. In fact, it's healthy as proven by several studies. I myself, who is an overweight, undisciplined female, have fasted with only water for 21 days with no ill effects or issues, and I'm not supernatural in any kind of way. I believe it's also not unusual to make dramatic progress with exercise when first starting out, but it gets progressively more difficult, diminishing returns. Everything you described can be explained by human willpower and placebo self-suggestion. If you were an actual vampire, you'd be immortal and drink human blood. That's the definition at least. How old are you? How do you think you became a vampire, or when did you become aware of it?
I actually do agree with you. I am aware that these are not supernatural, but after making comparisons to human results, I think growth is still much faster, which I only mention due to the topic of evolution. There are a few things that might be seen as supernatural, such as my heightened senses, such as being able to see in the dark, able to hear conversations from just about anywhere in a house, an extremely great sense of smell, being able to touch extremely hot or cold things, or not being able to get sick. I have tried a few times by eating raw foods or putting myself in extreme weather conditions with nothing to prevent me from getting sick and things of the like. I often forget to talk about these things because I often forget they were even there. I'm 18 and I suffer from amnesia, or at least a form of very bad memory loss, so I'm not actually sure how I even got the idea of being a vampire. I would really like to hear any recommendations for supernatural tests I can do. Back in 2013, I met this vampire who, for 8 years, literally did nothing but meditate, read science esoterics, lift weights, practice martial arts, and engaged in heavy brahmacharya, no fap. He had the most intimidatingly powerful presence I've ever seen. He carried himself like a complete fucking boss, and whenever I met him in public, women would constantly check him out, which he didn't seem to care for. He was average, face-wise, but ridiculously jacked like a Spartan super soldier. He always had an fixed intense stoic gaze, and even though I'm straight, if we held eye contact for a few seconds I'd experienced mini orgasms. He lived in the woods in an old shack with minimal electricity and water. We were neighbors. Whenever we'd hang out, he would say random shit like let's go this way or throw that rock over there, it belongs next that stump. He'd always also had an answer for everything, but most of his answers be cryptic. Then upon reflection I'd realize they were completely ingenious. I had to move to a different state eventually, and hadn't spoke to him since. Y'all ever met any powerful people like this? Where do I find more of them?
And even though I'm straight, if we held eye contact for a few seconds I'd experienced mini orgasms. Sure you are.
What is the curse of the temple? In a very real way, those who steal from temple take nothing from us, but lose more than the chance for personal immortality. They attract the attention of real vampires by physically inviting them into their lives. To steal from gods is most unwise. To then summon those gods in any manner is truly foolish. The unauthorized use of temple literature carries a dark curse. The authorized use of temple literature carries a prize beyond price. Like everything in this world, a tool can be used for construction or self-destruction. So too, with the tool that is the temple. Choose wisely. When someone purchases an authorized copy of the Vampire Bible and then performs communion, those who come recognize instantly whether or not the candidate has made this small financial gesture or not. You are, after all, asking for a telepathic connection to be made. It shouldn't be surprising that this would entail knowing what you did to arrive at that point. Those with the inborn potential, who have followed the simple steps required by the authors of the temple literature, who are also the sponsors of this temple, discover that the teachings are true. Those who lack the potential fruitlessly try to find loopholes and ways to avoid following the required steps. What are these steps? 1. Purchase an authorized copy of the Vampire Bible. 2. Obey temple law. It is a common belief that the best things in life are free. Actually, the worst things in life are free. Disease, death, ignorance, pain, delusion. All of these are free. Anything of value always has a price. By charging very small sums of money for books and services, the temple has found that this quickly screens out those who were not seriously drawn to the temple teachings in the first place. No one will attempt to sell you on the temple. You are welcome to proceed or leave at any time. It is just that simple. Who will prove it to me? To do so is pointless.